All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am excited to talk about the Denver Nuggets win yesterday over the Dallas Mavericks. Final score of that one, 112-101. Good win overall. It wasn't a great pathway to get there. The starters sucked for most of the time, and then they bounced back in, I'll say, the fourth quarter. But really, it was the bench. Really, it was the bench that kind of carried them through this moment, and it was very impressive to see that for, I guess, really the first time this season. I mean, the bench has played well before, but usually it's while the starters play well as well, and then Denver has a blowout. Most of the time, you don't see Denver's bench kind of really lifting the team up, and it was a big reason why. Aaron Gordon came back, and it was great. Oh, it was great to see Aaron Gordon back into the Nuggets rotation, and I'm very excited to talk about it all. We'll get into it. We'll talk about Murray's struggles. We'll talk about, hey, this was a kind of a subpar Jokic game. And I've got some thoughts on Dallas that I didn't get to share last night with Matt on Locked On that I want to share now. I think they're a tremendous team. And we will get into it in a bit. But first, I got to tell everybody about BetOnline, who continues to be the most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, and much more. BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. They have you covered on every game, every week, every play. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, let's get into it. If you enjoy these shows, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. I'm already seeing a whole bunch of Murray criticism in the comments section. Already seeing a lot of stuff. We'll talk about that in the second segment. I want to focus more on the positive here in the first segment. Aaron Gordon being back for the Nuggets. It was just a massive, massive thing for Denver. Think about it this way. This was Aaron's 18th game of the season. The Nuggets have played 38 games. They've still played more than half of their games without him in the lineup, let alone in the starting lineup. It's just really nice to see him back, and he immediately had a massive impact for Denver. But the story of this game was the starters starting slow in both quarters, in both the first and third quarter. I've got a stat for you. The Westbrook, Murray, Brown, Porter, Jokic lineup was a minus 25 in 12 minutes. Minus 25. That's hard to do. That is pretty impressive. And when Dallas is not starting Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving, they instead started Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, PJ Washington, Derek Lively. You're obviously going to have some questions on how the hell did the starters start so badly? Well, I think Dallas actually played a great game plan against Denver initially. They were very physical. They wanted to get into Denver, force some turnovers, and they did, especially in the starting lineup. Jokic had 4 turnovers. Westbrook had 4 turnovers. Jamal had 1, but it was in the first quarter, and it was a very loud turnover where he just had the ball taken away from him by Najee Marshall on one possession. And then they took that, and they took advantage with some runouts on the other side and just had some easy shots on the other side where Denver had some very difficult shots. The other thing is that in the first half, the Mavericks shot 10 of 15 from the three-point line, and then the Mavericks shot 2 of 19 from the three-point line in the second half. A massive difference, of course. So you start with that. Denver loses the first quarter 32-17. At one point, they were down 19-3. It was a really, really ugly start. Then Murray goes out, and I think that was the right call. They have to find more time where they get some of these other active wings in there instead of Murray at this point. but they can't just go away from him. We'll get into that in just a second. But Peyton Watson comes in, Julian Strother comes in, the Nuggets start to immediately turn things around. And then Aaron Gordon comes in, and the second unit as a whole comes in the second quarter. And lo and behold, Denver's playing pretty well. They're playing some pretty good basketball. I really liked what I saw. And Aaron Gordon, in his return, played 18 minutes, was a plus 23. 6 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 13.6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. Just some great stuff from him. And I'm really glad to see that, and just to see how immediately he can kind of get back the rhythm a little bit. He's shooting the ball off the dribble pretty well. He hit a pull-up 3. He just had the mid-range fall-away kind of going. And then there was one play that he had where it was an out-of-bounds play that Denver likes to run, where they throw the ball over the top to their power forward, and usually it's Aaron Gordon in this case. And then he just gets a quick ISO without the center in the paint because it's the center's guarding Jokic. And Gordon spun and immediately had a dunk and just looked tremendous. And like, it was awesome to watch. And he also had some good backline rim protection and defensive rotations. The Nuggets rebounded really well. Another big story of this game, Denver was big and they were strong, and they out-rebounded the Mavericks 55-37, including 15 offensive rebounds. Some of that was DeAndre Jordan. Most of that was Jokic, obviously, but Michael Porter had 3 offensive rebounds as well, including a tip-in the fourth quarter on a Murray bucket, or a Murray missed bucket. So there's just some really good stuff from Denver from a size perspective in this one, and Aaron Gordon just gives you that as a little bit of flexibility. And it was great. It was great to watch. But then Denver lets go of the rope again in the second half with the start of the third quarter. I wonder if it's just something to do with that unit. I do not think that Murray started well in each of those quarters, but I also think that Christian Brown is a bit to blame here. And then Jokic and Porter, I don't think you could really blame Russ that much. But Porter shot 1 of 8 from 3. Jokic shot only 6 of 13 and missed both of his threes. I mean, you can't like overly harp on it because Jokic had 19, 8, and 9. It was, I think, what I would call a subpar game from Jokic. I don't know if he necessarily dealt with the pressure perfectly. But most of the blame can go to Murray and Brown, of course. 7 of 18 for Murray, and then Christian Brown, 4 of 9, but he shot 0 of 4 from 3 and just continues to struggle to space the floor for Denver in these important moments. And Denver feels obligated to keep throwing him the ball, and he just has not been hitting the shots. So it's a tough spot for Denver to be, and I don't think that, like, look, Christian will have months where he's shooting a little bit better, but I wonder what he is now shooting on the season. It would not surprise me if he's down to about 35%. Think about where he started the year and what that was looking like. Christian's still at 38%. He's still up there. He had a couple of games where he shot 1 of 1 and I think 2 of 2. So it kind of like it evens out. But the massive thing with him is still the attempts. It's still the number of shots that he is taking from the perimeter. And if you look per 100 possessions, he's actually taking fewer threes per 100 possessions than he did last year when he shot 38.4%. So not sure he's really trusting the jumper as much as he needs to, if I'm being honest, because he's getting the opportunity. He's already played 1,200 minutes this year. Last year, he played just 1,655. So he's well on his way to taking and making more shots, but he has to continue to take more of them. But look, Denver wasn't great with the starters again. They make changes. They make adjustments. Peyton Watson comes in, plays some great defense for Denver. Aaron Gordon comes back in, continues to be helpful. And then Jamal Murray in the fourth quarter finally got his game going a little bit, hit a couple of shots along with Aaron Gordon at the beginning of that fourth quarter to give the Nuggets back the lead that they had relinquished multiple times. At one point in the third, they were down 19. And it was just like, it was a very frustrating game for me to watch because I'm seeing the process just crumble with the starting unit after they had played really well together for several weeks, effectively. And The bench had to build them back up, but it was great that they did. DeAndre Jordan deserves a bunch of credit. He was plus 13 in 9 minutes in this game. Gave them some offensive rebounds, got some rim protection in there, shot 3 of 3 from the field. Peyton Watson, as I mentioned, plus 30 in this game. 10.6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. Julian Strawther did not shoot well, but I think that the pairing between him and Peyton Watson makes more sense on the wing for Denver in some cases. I really like the lineup of Murray, Strawther, Watson, Gordon, DJ, because you get the rim runner and you get the rim protection and the rebounding with Jordan, but you also get size with Gordon at the 4 and perimeter defense with Watson at the 3. That makes up in a lot of ways for Julian and Jamal on the perimeter. And those guys are going to be better positionally when you put them into those kinds of situations, as opposed to some of the ones where Denver's trying to play a little bit smaller on the perimeter. But look, it was great. It was good for Denver to kind of get back into this. The starters finally kicked it into gear in the fourth quarter. Murray made a couple shots. Michael Porter, again, grabbing some offensive rebounds, making it work. And then Russell Westbrook, he deserves some credit here. Playing well off of Jokic, cutting to the rim extremely hard, running in transition. He had 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I heard somebody yesterday say they think he's playing his best basketball since Washington. That was 4 years ago. That's a great compliment because Westbrook at that point was in year, 13 as opposed to year 17? That's tremendous. And so I'm pretty impressive. I'm pretty impressed with what they are doing and just glad to see other guys stepping up. It's not just Jokic. It's not just Porter. And when he's playing healthy and playing well, it's not just Murray. Denver has to have this formula where other guys grow on the job and learn despite the fact that they've committed so much money to their main crew. And I like seeing this because it gives Denver flexibility for what they need. They don't need to rely so heavily on their main starters, and it just gives them a lot of opportunities to try different things. Denver's going to need that in the playoffs. They're going to need multiple guys to step up. So really impressed with how they handled it. Ultimately, 112 to 101. Again, they probably should have won by more. It was Luka and Kyrie missing, and I think that obviously made a massive impact. But the way that the Mavericks played, Klay Thompson had 25. I thought Spencer Dinwiddie played a great game despite the fact that he shot poorly. Like 10 assists, 2 turnovers, got the ball to where it needed to go. Derek Lively played well. Najee Marshall played well. PJ Washington didn't, but he also had some good defense. And they probably just needed a little bit more offensive burst. And the shooting ran dry for Dallas in the second half. So if they have Luka and Kyrie, obviously that's not as much of an issue. They probably win this game if they have those guys. So Denver's still got to elevate. They have to keep getting better. This is not going to be good enough for when Denver faces Dallas going forward. So we'll have to see how they handle it. But for now, let's enjoy the win. Let's just bask in the victory a little bit. Denver, of course, has to play Dallas again on Tuesday. So got to keep the nose to the grindstone a little bit. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jamal. We're going to talk about I'm seeing, of course, all the criticism in the comments, and it's justified. I understand it. We'll talk about Jamal and what he's dealing with and how he can play better next on the other side on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate the love and support on the podcast, folks. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. We're working through. We're having fun. And now it's time for the Nuggets to bring the positivity because the Broncos were just eliminated from the playoffs yesterday. A good overall season for Bo Nix and the Broncos, but it's done. And they have some work to do, of course, to continue to elevate. Bo Nix has some work to do. They've got to get some more skill position players. The defense looked like it got run over by a truck when James Cook was running the football yesterday. And Josh Allen, just like, obviously you have some, like, Josh Allen's really freaking good. And the Bills looked like a completely different tier of team than the Broncos yesterday. So they have some things to do, but the Nuggets can pick up the slack a little bit. We will see what happens here. All right. Let's talk about Murray. I'm already seeing some odd comments here. Murray don't pass to Jokic either. LOL. He is super inconsistent with the pocket pass. Denver didn't run this play that often, and especially when you're talking about in the clutch, the read was not to get it to Jokic. The read was to get it like the way that Dallas was running the play and running their defense. It actually made it very difficult for Murray to get the ball to him. There is a difference between when Murray is running it versus when Russ is running it. And ultimately, the Nuggets put Russ on the ball in the clutch and actually moved Murray to shooting guard and effectively said, hey, we are going to have you space. We're going to have Porter space, and we're going to have Westbrook enter the ball, and we are going to have him cut, and Peyton Watson's going to be on the weak side as well. And there's going to be plenty of opportunities for space for Russ to operate, for Jokic to operate because of that. And that was the right call, of course. And Denver found a way. They found a way to win. Look, I don't think we should be micromanaging it too much. It wasn't Denver's best offensive game. 23 assists. Murray, I think you could really point to that. Okay. Nelson, he is playing next to a point guard this year more often than he ever has. And 2, Jamal Murray was drafted to be a combo guard. He was not drafted to be just a point guard. This year, he is averaging 6.2 assists per game. He's been okay as a passer. I think with Westbrook in there, he's averaging 7 assists. Jokic is averaging close to 10. Denver is leading the entire NBA in assists per game. I don't think we need to be just talking massive crap about the assists. Denver leads the entire league. They might set a record in the entire NBA in assists per game, bro. It's okay sometimes if Murray doesn't make every pass, every single one. It's also okay if Jokic doesn't make every single pass. What are you going to do? Complain about him? Like, come on. It's okay. They won. Look, Jamal had 17 points, 7 of 18 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, 1 of 3 from the free throw line. He was clearly off. Like, the free throws, I think, should really be highlighted for everybody. It was clearly off. Things were not working well for him. He did not handle the physicality really well, being defended by Najee Marshall. He gets the biggest, strongest defender on the opposing team pretty much every single night. And it's fortunate that the Nuggets do have somebody like Westbrook. It's something that we've been talking about. It's one of the weaknesses with Brown, actually, that when Murray is getting, like, if he's in a tough place and he's not having the best game, Denver's able to give the ball up to Westbrook and have Murray operate off ball. And Murray had 6 3-pointers yesterday, 2 of 6. Again, not his best, not his most efficient performance that he's ever had. But I tend to think that they can navigate this. Think about it this way. At one point, it was so bad that they were minus 29 in the Murray minutes. So I understand the criticism. I really do. I'm watching the same things that you guys are. I just am not really clouded by the Murray hate in order to say, hey, ship him off to Siberia immediately. You got to work through it. That's the thing. Murray can't be traded. Denver should be trying to work through this, should be trying to get him to a place where he's playing the best basketball that he can. And he's obviously dealing with knee inflammation, and clearly that affected him, that impacted him. Should he have played yesterday? Probably not. I don't think he should have played yesterday. I think he looked pretty bad. And for a long time, he was just kind of out there, just trying to navigate through it. And how you know that he was really struggling was in the first half, he was dribbling into nowhere in that kind of mid-range area, that 20-foot area, and just not really getting anywhere, and then passing the ball off and getting frustrated, not really making a play, but just kind of dribbling for the sake of dribbling, getting to a spot for the sake of getting to a spot. And it wasn't the good stuff. It wasn't how he should have operated. But you just got to work through it. And Denver right now is in a place at 23-15 where they can navigate this, where they can work through this. And I hope that they continue to give Murray some time off at some point, because he's played 32 games. He's played 31 games this year. Denver's played 38 as a team. He is still on pace to play a fair amount of their games, more than he played last year, more than he played the year before. And I just look at that, and I look at the minutes per game that he's playing and the role that he's playing, and think, hey, it's really tough to manage this thing. He had been playing well. He's now no longer playing well. And the Nuggets, I think, should be trying to give him some time off if they had a possibility to. So, look, they're going to navigate it. It's going to be all right. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he bounces back, because he will. The question is when and how. All right, Cedric with a super chat. He says, Ryan jinxed the Broncos and Murray. Don't do that. And yeah, no, I understand. Don't do that, BB. Is that supposed to be baby? Because, okay. Look, did I jinx the Broncos? How did I jinx the Broncos? I need to know this. How did I jinx the Broncos? Because I wanted them to be successful, but I don't think I said anything. I just started tweeting about them. Was it the oh my god tweet that I sent to Cody Rourke? Because that was on the factor that he had called out that Troy Franklin was going to get involved, and then Troy Franklin scores the first touchdown of the game for the Broncos. So it was just really impressive. It was a good call by Cody, and I thought just really good stuff from him. As an analyst, and he's me at Mile High Sports for the Broncos. So make sure to go check out his stuff if you want to see any of the Broncos offseason content now. Okay, back to the Nuggets. They're going to have some interesting decisions with Murray and with Westbrook and with Gordon and with Brown. It's funny. Jokic is obviously going to be starting. And obviously, Michael Porter's going to be starting. Nobody's wondering whether Michael Porter is going to go to the bench, which I think is a testament to how well he's played, how well he has played in this moment, and how he has stepped up and been a very consistent option for Denver. It is funny, people are saying, hey, Murray should go to the bench if it was a meritocracy, or Aaron Gordon should go to the bench. Look at how well the bench has played, and look at how the starters are playing with Michael Porter at the 4. Or Christian Brown should go to the bench. He's a young player, while he's not really providing as much on the ball and with creation for Denver. So let's see what Russell Westbrook has. I don't know what they're going to do, man. I have no idea what Michael Malone's going to end up doing, because this is one of those things, and I talked about this with Matt last night, but I talked about it offline as well. And some of the things that we talked about I thought were very interesting. And I'm down to this. Can you start Russell Westbrook? And is it an admission that your plan was bad? Is it an admission that you needed to make a change from the opening night? Murray, Brown, Porter, Gordon, Jokic, that's the 5 that they had initially. And Russell Westbrook was meant to come in, I think, to probably play about 20 to 22 minutes off the bench. Be their 6th man or be something close to it. And that'd be that. And he's played so much better, I think, that anybody has really expected, that it gives Denver some flexibility. It gives them some optionality. It's interesting. Okay. What is Melody is Dead has been commenting and has had some loud comments in the comment section as well. The plan is bad. What is this delusion? Please explain this to me about why the plan is bad. Was it the fact that they let go of KCP and are starting Christian Brown? Is that the plan? Was it the two timelines thing that they're running with Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, as opposed to getting in a vet? Things like that, because I understand that, but that's something that Michael Malone doesn't have control over. So you have to just kind of navigate that while this is going on. But in terms of what they're doing right now, I don't think the plan is that bad. I think they're working with what they have. I think that Michael Malone's coached a pretty good season so far, and he's having to manage a bunch of stuff. So I need to know why the plan is bad. I need to know what this is. They've figured out how to make it work. And the fact is, they're fourth in the West, despite the fact that one of their starters has played less than half of the minutes. It's pretty good. I don't think you can necessarily account for the fact that Houston was going to be this good, or like OKC you knew was going to be really good. I didn't know they were going to be this good. Things like that. I don't know. Melody is Dead says, plus all the things that fans feared when Murray signed his contract have come true. Inconsistent, slow start, injured, etc. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand. I understand that. And I see a lot of Nuggets fans looking at the way that this has gone and the way that this is handled. And like, yeah, if Denver had buyer's remorse on Murray right now, it'd be very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think you deal with the hand that you're dealt, and it's not like there was it's not like they could just magically trade Jamal for another All-Star. It's not like they could just magically turn what was a tough situation last year into a much better situation this year. And I think that's something where fans have the disconnect. Would you just rather let Murray expire? No, you wouldn't, because you don't have the flexibility to sign anybody else in free agency because you're already committed to Jokic on the Supermax. You have Gordon and you have Porter. You can't sign anybody in free agency if you just let Murray expire. That's not how it works. They don't have the flexibility to do so. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys really want. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Dark Skulls in the comments says, what's up, Ryan? Love the show. Keep up the great work and go Nuggets. You think this upcoming stretch is when the team will start racking up wins? Russ has been great, and so has Julian and P. Watt. I actually think that they're in a pretty good spot. Looking at the schedule and looking at where they are, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to see. Like, if Murray's dealing with this now, I think they might have to have some flexibility with him, maybe give him a day off or two. But the rest of the team, like, I think everybody's in a relatively good place. Just looking at the schedule here, Denver plays. Why did this not update? They play at Dallas again tomorrow on Tuesday. Then they play a back-to-back versus Houston on Wednesday. That's a big game. Of course, Denver's 8-0 in the second night of back-to-back, so obviously they'll win that one. No, they'll probably split that between at Dallas and versus Houston. Fortunately, they're traveling east to west, so they gain an hour. Then on Friday, they go to Miami and play at Miami and at Orlando on Friday and Sunday of this weekend. The at Miami game is going to be very fascinating to watch. That's going to be awesome because that's the first game that Jimmy Butler comes back from his suspension. And I'm sure everything will be just fine. Everything will be great. There will be no drama at all in that game. Oh, man. Orlando, that one is one that Denver will lose. I guarantee it. They lose at Orlando every single time, and Orlando just is going to play harder than them. And that one's going to be a grind fest, and the Nuggets are not going to know how to handle it, and everybody's going to panic. But Orlando is really good, and they're going to win. You heard it here first. Then Denver comes home and plays Philly and Sacramento. So like these next 5 games or so, at Dallas, home versus Houston, at Miami, at Orlando, versus Philly, and then versus Sacramento after that. They're tough games, but if Denver gets through them, they're going to be all right. They're going to be in a pretty good spot. Fortunately, they don't have any more back-to-backs for a while after the upcoming one on Tuesday and Wednesday. So Denver won't have to deal with that until February again. And they can get into a rhythm. Now, whether they will get into a rhythm remains to be seen, but I think Denver's better when they're in a rhythm. I think they're in a pretty good spot when they can. We will see what happens. Final thing, and I guess I kind of blended these segments together. You guys got me talking about Murray for too long. Dallas is really freaking good. I'm very impressed with them. I'm very impressed with Derek Lively. I'm very impressed with their formula. Klay Thompson looked great yesterday. I'm not expecting him to be great all the time going forward. But the matchup, like when he's coming off of screens, when he is trying to set himself up, when he's got Luka Doncic setting him up, it's a little different than when he's got Spencer Dinwiddie setting him up. Najee Marshall looks tremendous. PJ Washington, I know, is a very solid defender, a very solid all-around player for them. Denver's actually a pretty tough matchup for him because Michael Porter's just as strong and Aaron Gordon is obviously just as strong and just as athletic. There's a little bit of a difference between when he's facing a team like OKC where he's bigger than a lot of their guys versus Denver where you match up with Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon at the power forward spots, and it's a little bit different. But I do think that you add a couple of obviously elite superstar ball handler types to what we saw from Dallas yesterday, and I really do think that they can make the finals again. And Chris says the obvious here. I mean, they made the finals. Yes. Last year was kind of fluky. With the way, like Denver probably should have made the finals last year. And the Murray injury and not having enough on the bench, things like that, definitely prevented Denver from getting there. If Denver and Dallas had met last year with Derek Jones Jr. and some of their other guys instead of Klay Thompson and Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall, it would have been different. Now, Dallas has so many different options, and they've got another year for Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Lively battled with Jokic yesterday. It was not a great Jokic game. And the reason why was mostly because of Lively. He was tremendous, and I was just very impressed with how he handled himself. Just a very skilled, physical, athletic player. +5 yesterday for Lively in 27 minutes in a game that they lost by 11. He's just really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this matchup looks like in the playoffs because I think that both of these teams, like it'll be a battle. And it just wouldn't surprise me if it comes down to the wire and execution at the end. And you're talking, man, when they go Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic versus Denver going Jokic and then probably Jamal Murray, Dallas probably has an edge there right now if Murray can't get back to where he needs to go. So I'm curious to see how they handle it, curious to see what it looks like. But the difference, of course, is that when Dallas has that particular grouping out there, can they play Najee Marshall and PJ Washington and Klay Thompson? You got to pick and choose. And so they'll be a little bit different with those groups. They were a little bit more defensive in this one, and Denver struggled. Murray struggled. But if they go more offense, can Denver counter and score on them a little bit more? I would guess so, but that's going to be on Murray. It's going to be on Porter to pick it up. I'm curious to see how they handle this matchup tomorrow, and we'll find out. Most of the time, teams split these matchups. Most of the time, when you've got a 2-game series like this, and they're kind of similar talented teams, and they have playoff aspirations, it's very hard to win 2 in a row. Can Denver win 2 in a row against the Mavericks? That would be a big test. Now, You probably can without Luka and Kyrie. I guess there's a possibility that Kyrie comes back, but I don't think Luka's anywhere close. So we'll see whether they can do that. But if they do, then Denver goes 3-1 against Dallas in this season. They obviously got some major help from injuries with that, but they get the tiebreaker. They get a whole bunch of things from that. Having the flexibility with those tiebreakers at the end of the season is really important. I think that Denver avoiding the OKC Thunder and being a top 2 or top 3 seed, like 2 or 3, while OKC is 1, I think that's their best case scenario. I think Denver should be trying to get to that place. And if they can avoid OKC until the NBA Finals, Denver's still got a really good chance to go far. Like they can. Or you just get Jokic in the Western Conference Finals versus OKC, an undersized team that, yes, they'll have probably Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein to match up with him, but that'll be a little bit different. It'll be a little bit different. Jokic will be a monster in that zone. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but if Denver can win tomorrow, that'll be a big deal, and we'll see whether they can. That is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, everybody. Brought to you by our folks over at BetOnline. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate the love and support on the show. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I don't want to just agree blindly with everybody on the Murray hate. He needs to be better, obviously. I think he will be better. I think he's just got to get healthier. I think he's got to get into a better mind frame, and then we'll see. Well, it's up to him at that point. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys on Wednesday morning.